Welcome, Facebook. Jerry Martin here. For those who don't know me, if you're not part of the Fitness Retention Group Corner, check it out. It's Fitness Retention Corner Group. That's what we always talking about retention, ways to gain clients, train staff, because it all is important with retention. Again, though, if you don't know me, we created an app for the industry that helps with retention, helps with education, helps with accountability. It's called My Fit Members. So definitely check it out. My Fit Members. I'll put a link below this thing. Today is not about me. It's about Clint. I was able to jump on a call with Clint about a week ago or so, Clint, and we got started deep talking into how to hire the right person, which really intrigued me because it doesn't get talked about that much in this industry. And so, Clint, I'm going to pass it to you to let them know a little bit about your background and how you've got into helping owners, what you're doing now, and how you can help owners. And what we're going to talk about today is how to hire the right person.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. First of all, appreciate you having me on. I'm honored to be here. I started in the fitness arena, if you will, clear back in 2005. I say clear back. I'm a young buck, so.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't even talk to you right now.
Right.
Let me cut my gray beard here. Hold on.
Yeah, and I'll go back even a little bit further. You know, I grew up playing baseball and college baseball scholarship athlete. Ended up signing with the New York Yankees and was in their minor league organization for a couple of years. And it was actually there when one of the coaches came up to me and said, "Hey, have you considered being a coach?" And of course, at that time, I was like, "Man, I'm not a coach. I'm a player. You know, I'm gonna be in the major leagues. You know,
I'm a player. I'm a player, boy."
Yeah. But he impressed on me, you know, that I had a skill set that I couldn't recognize myself, and that's when I first kind of thought, oh, okay, coaching, this might be a thing. Well, anyway, I after I got done playing, I finished my degree in kinesiology, and immediately went into working in a club. Started out as a personal trainer in a local club here in Jackson, Mississippi, and moved my way up. Started managing one facility, and then moved my way up to fitness director over all the trainers and all the aerobics instructors in 3 facilities, and then moved all the way up to managing all 3 facilities. And so I've kind of got that whole, like, I understand the gym world very well and how it works, but I just saw this terrible dynamic between a son-in-law and a father-in-law who owned the business. And I was constantly playing referee, and it was like, refereeing a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old in a shouting match. It was brutal. So I decided to go ahead and open my own place. And in 2008, I opened Raising the Bar Fitness in Ridgeland, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Jackson, if you want to call it that. I mean, Jackson's not a very big area, but I started out just myself in 500 square feet, and it grew very rapidly. Ended up, getting connected with the right people. I trained every car dealership owner in the Jackson area, their wives friends, and was able to just be very blessed in growing a business very rapidly.
Right. I'm curious why you picked car dealerships owners.
I didn't. I somehow I got one, and next thing you know, I was training all of them.
Wow.
I call them the car dealership mafia, because there's one guy who gave all the rest of them their money to start their dealership, so it's like, I do you this favor. Yeah, it was like that. And one day,
I will get a cut of every sale, every car you sell. I love it. All right.
Yeah. But and these were great guys who brought their wives in, and their wives started sending their friends. So I had a referral base that was unheard of. And so my business grew very rapidly to the point where I was training 16, 17 hours a day for 6-7 days a week, and put myself into the red light and major burnout.
Right.
Led to some bad choices in my personal life and some other things. So I had to make changes. And that is when I decided to start hiring a team. And I did it all the wrong ways.
Don't we all? Yeah. We learn about our mistakes. Yes.
Right. Full desperation mode. I've got to get out of training altogether. Hire whoever threw their resume at me. Did not have a real good application funnel that drove the right people through the system and weeded out the bad ones. And I didn't do like a real good interview. I had like 10 questions that I printed off of some article somewhere. They're the basic questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and things like that. Right. And struggled mightily with turnover. Hired 2 trainers and an admin right out of the gate. Ended up firing those 2 trainers about 3 months in. Ended up going through 4 admins before I found the one that was finally a good fit. And eventually got to the point. This was in late 2009 when I started the hiring process and getting a team. And it wasn't until late 2011 when I kind of finally figured everything out, put a team in place, and grew the business from that point. 6 trainers serving 150 clients, and we did all one-on-one, which nowadays is like, dinosaur type stuff.
Right. Trading time for money is
yeah.
go. But I wonder how many owners resonate with what you just said. Of how many times you hired and fired and just this whole process. Because I hear it all the time. They say it's hard to find good trainers. Mm-hmm. So hopefully today you help us crack that code and get some quality trainers in.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe everything is about relationship, and the better your relationship skills are, the better your leadership will be, and just everything in life, So there's 3 things that I believe all owners must do to ensure long-term success with their staff. Okay, and they're not the 3 things you probably are thinking that they are. Those would be, first and foremost, you have to know yourself. And what I mean by that is a heightened self-awareness where you know what you want, you know what you don't want, you know what you like and what you don't like, you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at, you know what you're willing to do and know what you're not willing to do. Because when you know that, you can then take all of those things, see if they're in alignment with your vision, and the things that you don't like to do and you're not willing to do and you don't want, you can then mold those into an avatar to get the who that you want to bring onto your team. Wow. So it starts with knowing yourself first. That's key. And there's so many of us that go through. I mean, I remember when I first started my business and was on that verge of like, should I hire people? There was this kind of like uneasiness, like nobody can train the clients the way I do.
Right.
It's like, really? I mean, it's training, right? It's like, eat this, don't eat that. Do these reps or I'll kick your butt. I mean, nobody can train them like I do. And that mindset plagues the fitness industry to the extent that we do lock ourselves into bad relationships, in a sense that we make choices about that take on clients at weird hours because we need the money, or not saying no to a prospect because they're willing to pay in full, things like that, where, if we were well boundaried and we knew who we were, we would say, I can't work 13 hours a day. That's impossible for me, right? I know my limits. So that's number 1, know yourself. Number 2, you got to have a good idea of who you want to bring on your team before you ever do any hiring. And that comes from the work of knowing yourself. The things that you don't like to do, the things that you're not good at, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and being able to craft the type of person that you need for your business. And not only that, what kind of personality traits and characteristics do you want them to have? What kind of values do you want them to have? And really spending some time thinking about the individuals that you want to bring onto your team. Because, go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I wanted to say, and you're on this roll, and it's hard for me I don't want to interrupt, but I resonate with what you said earlier. It was a leap for me to finally get out of my own self way of nobody can do it better than me, and I still struggle with it sometimes. But I finally made that leap, and in a sense, I'm right. But even if they're doing 90% of what I'm capable of doing, that's better than me trying to do everything. That makes sense. And then, start throwing an accountability program in there to hold them accountable in the right way. There's a good way and right way to hold people accountable, to where it rises them up to where they want to produce, to where they want to please you, to where they want to go above and beyond. So that's definitely what I teach too in that. So I'm glad you touched on that. And, another thing, what we did in the past is, I don't know if you do this or I've talked about it, we actually, before at the last stage of our hiring process, we would have lunch or dinner with the applicant and their spouse, because you don't know what crazy's behind curtain number 1. and that can affect the whole relationship. But go ahead.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that, because I used to, after a while, I would bring my wife to sit in the interviews with me. She has the gift of discernment. Like, she like she just knows yes or no, is that person trustworthy? So yeah, I would bring my wife and she would sit in the interview with me while I was interviewing these applicants, and that they were a little uneasy about it. But once I explained to them that my wife has this skill set that I lean on, and they were okay with it. But
of course they're uneasy. They're like, all right, does she see something? They're like, oh my God. But we took it a step further. We actually invited their wife because we wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because you know a person sitting in front of you, but you don't know a person till you see their family life and how.
Yeah, certainly.
And so that's another step we went to, which helped a lot. But yeah, I love that.
And that right there, what you just said, goes into some of the things I'll talk about in a little bit. In leveraging this pre-work, this pre-hire work, knowing yourself, knowing who you want, you can then craft interview questions that get people to reveal more of their true self, right? Get them to reveal their characteristics and their personality without them knowing it, which is something that I teach. So there's always that component of, is the person really being who they are and who they say they are in that interview, Right. And are they just saying what they need to say to get the job? Right. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The third thing you must do pre-hire before you ever think about hiring somebody is you have to know your numbers. Know yourself, know who you want. You got to know your numbers, okay? Because ROI is not the golden goose, all right? It's good, but it's not the golden goose. Profit is the golden goose. And unfortunately in our industry, we see a lot of posturing of how much gross revenue I'm bringing in, but there's no talk of the profit. And that's probably because there's not that much there. And unfortunately, it comes down to overpaying your trainers, overpaying your staff. And what I mean by that is not overpaying them by industry standards. What I mean by that is overpaying them based on what your packages bring in. Okay, so having the margins, which is the amount of money that the business keeps after the service cost. Okay, the service cost is I pay this person to service this group of clients, right? Right. Your service cost is your trainer pay. And if your margins aren't at least 75 to 85%, then the business is going to struggle because there's overhead like rent, electricity, taxes, insurance. I mean, we can just go on and on. Toilet paper for the bathrooms. It seems minuscule, but it adds up to a lot of money. And
so you're saying to keep your payroll down below 20%.
Yes, 20% would be a good even number. I would say 15% would be something better to shoot for. And so if you want to pay a trainer, you're looking at your area, and trainers, in the local health clubs are, getting $20 a session, an hour or session. I like to call them sessions because if we say hour, now all of a sudden we're selling time, right? No, we want to sell results, and we want to take people through multiple sessions to get that result. But if you are paying, say the trainer's getting paid $20 a session, and you want to be able to pay your trainers that so you can attract the top talent, then you have to adjust your packages so that your average session rate yields 80% to 85% margin for the business. That means you got to set your prices at $100 to $105 a session to pay somebody $20. Okay. Yeah. And understanding those numbers so that you don't go into a situation where you're charging $60 a session and you're paying $20 to the trainer. Now all of a sudden you've only got 60% of the revenue, and you wonder why you can't pay yourself more than $15,000 a year.
Right.
Okay. So that's key. The other part about knowing your numbers is if you can see visually what 5 full-time trainers with a margin of 85% could produce for your business, you'd be hiring left and right. Okay, I've seen some of the business owners that I work with that plug in. I have a tool, a margin calculator tool that I built that shows five trainers, 5 practitioners, 5 yoga instructors, whatever you want to call them, servicing 30 hours a week. That's full time in the fitness industry. Because any more than that, times are spread out. You can red light your own trainers. 30 hours a week at 85% margin. I've seen businesses show that they can produce over $1 million in real revenue, that's money after payroll is paid, $1 million a year in real revenue after payroll is paid.
So let me ask a question. And when you're talking, because group fitness is a different arena, I believe, because you have time slots that you're trying to fill.
Either or.
Okay.
Okay. So if we just talk about a session, the calculator that I built also calculates average number of people in a group session. So let's say you have 45 people that this trainer's sessions had 45 total people, and he taught 15 sessions over that week in this group training, and 45 people showed up. He'd have an average session size of 3 people. Okay.
Gotcha.
If each person is paying $60, per session for their group training rate, that's $180 revenue, and you're paying that trainer $25 to teach each of those sessions, your margins are close to 88%.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And now he's getting paid $25 a session. He's working 30 hours a week, right? That is upwards, what is that, $750 a week?
Right.
So,
right.
Roughly $3,000 a month. So he's just in his training, he's making $37,000 a year, working 30 hours a week.
So, and another thing we did on top of that, I don't know if you agree or not, but I'm pretty sure, because what happens is sometimes when you bring trainers on, and they're either session driven by wage or they're hourly driven, is they're not really helping you grow your business. They're just working. So we went into of retention. We'll bonus them on retention.
Yeah.
And that actually changes their whole mindset to where they're actually helping you grow your business, so you can
Correct.
reach a higher margin rate. But yeah.
And that's once you get the right fit, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting the right fit, using good hiring practices to get the right people in place. Once you get the right fit, then you can determine as a business owner how you want to bonus or create bonus structures based on their ability to produce results. And in the training world, their ability to produce results means their clients are getting results and giving the business testimonials. The clients that they're servicing are renewing their agreements, and they're referring their friends that come in and buy. Right? That is a productive trainer. And so you can create all kinds of if their retention is good, meaning they're renewing clients, well then if they're doing that, then I want to give them something on the back end to show my appreciation for them doing their job in a productive manner. Right. So there's multiple ways for a trainer to grow their personal income within that structure. But the base pay, the margin pay, needs to be set correctly. So knowing your numbers is number 3 before you ever hire anybody. Know yourself, know who you want, know your numbers.
I'm glad you hit on, because the problem is most trainers and club owners don't know their numbers. They don't. No.
It takes some time to gather that information and that data. So if you're watching this and you don't have an immediate report that you can pull to show, your revenue, your real revenue, your payroll, taxes, where everything is going, how much profit you are keeping on a given month, then you need to start gathering that information so that you can make good business decisions. I don't care if it's how much you're going to invest in marketing or how much you're going to invest in a trainer, or if you're going to, jump into MyFit members and have a lot of trainers utilizing that, and all your clients utilizing that service. You've got to understand what you're investing in so that you can make sure you're keeping more of your money than losing.
Right. So if you're not good with numbers, make sure you have a good CPA that you're meeting with once a month to talk about it. Yeah. And that way he can really give you a good P&L for you to go by, watch those margins. So it's a lot of people, a lot of gym owners, and including myself for years, I didn't do it, is to really spend time with your CPA, because the time with your CPA is more valuable than you can possibly imagine. But I'm glad you
absolutely. Yeah. So if we look at these 3 core things that we've got to do before we hire anybody, and we get a good understanding of those things, now we're ready to prepare or leverage that information that we gathered into a full-scale marketing, application funnel, and interview process. All right. So the marketing components are no different than marketing for clients when it comes to marketing for staff. Good copy wins. And the copy that you want to have is, I'm speaking my ethos, our company's culture, right? Know yourself. I'm just oozing my ethos, my culture in my copy, in the videos that I create, that I post on the website for the application process. And I'm speaking directly to the type of individual that I want to hire. I'm attracting the person that I want because they're connecting with my culture and ethos. And I'm speaking directly to, this is the personality characteristics, the skill set, the strengths that I want to have. If you have these things, I want you on my team. And if you resonate with what we do here at XYZ Fitness, bang, connection, you're going to get the right person, right?
Wow.
That's why it's important to do that pre-work and understand those three components so that you can create marketing just like you would if you were to create, okay, I've got these 12 clients, they've renewed years and years, they're my top producing revenue clients. What is it about these people and how can I get more of them, right? You create your avatar of your client. Same thing for marketing for staff, same thing. And that pre-work helps you do that, okay? The application process, I believe, needs to be a funnel. You need to get a lot of prospects at the top, shrink it down to the next core group of prospects, and then make sure you shrink it down small enough that you spit out only the best prospects. Right? So we do that primarily, number one, introduce yourself and the company, introduce your ethos. This would be landing page number one. And, only ask for their email address, right? Keep it simple. Get as many as you can. Get as many staff prospects as you can. Drop them into page two. This is where you talk about, this is who this job is for. This is who this job is not for. These are the characteristics. This is the avatar. If this is you, we want you to fill out this application. So you just create a web form that has all the questions that you want, in, education, certifications, schooling, work history, all the basic application type stuff. Okay. Right. Because those people that just submitted their email address and they went to the page and said, I don't know if I'm that person. And, but maybe they think they're that person, but they're not sure. They're sure as heck not going to take the time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, to fill out a web form with all those questions. The ones that do resonate, like, yes, I love what this company is about. I love what they're saying. This is me to a T. I can fit the bill. I'm going to fill out this application. And then that drops them into step three. And step three is where you really weed out the ones that are paying attention. Okay, because ultimately with good staff, they've got to be able to follow directions. They've got to be able to think on their feet, etc. And so in step three, you introduce some form of case study. Ask them for some practical application. Give them a scenario that they have to turn around and provide you knowledge about how they would work through that scenario in a training setting. And here's the key.
I love this. This is awesome. All right, go ahead. I'm glued to you now, so go ahead.
Here's the key to that process, that last step, is that they have to mail it to you and give them specific directions. Make it ambiguous so that it's like, really, like, you want me to paperclip it, not staple it, and you want me to put the resume underneath the case study materials that I provide you, and you want it put in a yellow 9x12 manila envelope, not tri-folded into a letter envelope. Because what will happen is you'll get people who don't pay attention to the directions, and you automatically weed those individuals out.
I love it. My buddy Chad Smith, I've had him on the show. He did the same. He didn't do everything, but that portion right there he did. Specific instructions. If they didn't staple it right, if they didn't, they were out.
And then that doesn't mean that you get one of those and it goes right into the garbage.
Right.
Save everything. Create a folder, a file, and just save everything, because as you grow your company, you're going to want to pull from the people that did submit that far, right? And you never know. There might be somebody who, was having a bad week and they're just like, screw it, I don't want to go and buy a manila envelope and just stuff in this letter, right? They might be the right person with great knowledge. They just had a bad week and didn't follow directions. Now, more often than not, you're going to get people, the top candidates are going to follow the directions, okay? Now that brings us to the interview process. Now that we've finally done the marketing in a way that connects with our ethos and connects with the individual we want, we've sifted and sorted the best candidates out through the funnel. Now we've got to go through an interview process to see if these people are who they say they are on paper, right? So have a multiple step interview process. Always phone interview. Like if you call somebody and they can't even form a sentence, or they're just speaking, in slang too much, and they wouldn't connect with the clients that you have, and it just wouldn't be a good fit, don't have them in for an interview. Why would you even bother, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're just listening. They speak well, they're coherent, they're all of those things, right? Then you get to the interview. And with the interview, the key to the interview is making it feel more like a conversation than an interrogation. Well, it's because most interviews sound like an interrogation, or feel like it anyway. And I guarantee you these people have practice answers to the core 10 interview questions that everybody asks, and so they've taken something to how to win an interview and get the job, and you want them to be more real. You want them to be more authentic. So the first part of the interview is, and the key is to just build rapport. Make them feel comfortable and easy. Don't rush to get into, hey, let's sit down and let me ask you 10 questions. Don't rush it. Take your time.
Man, I'm glad you said that, because I always felt weird on the other end. I felt like they were this one little person sitting across from me was about this small, and we're up here asking these questions. It made me feel weird. I'm like, dude, what can we do? I love this. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Good. Well, and so that's the key, is getting them to let their guard down. And we're all guarded when we come into a new environment, meeting new people, and we are being quote unquote judged, because that's what an interview is, right? The company is seeing if we're the right type of fit for them. And so, you want to make that individual feel as less like that as possible.
Right.
Ease them down. Talk to them about whatever. How, did you find the place okay? You want some water? Did you watch the Final Four? Wasn't that a crazy game with Mississippi State and Notre Dame? You believe that call? Things like that, where you just everyday conversation, and you're just kind of easing them into it. Introduce them to the other staff if you already have staff. If you don't, then introduce them to the clients that you have there at the moment. Just make them feel comfortable. And then once you kind of get to that point, you just very naturally start asking questions, which are the interview questions. And I would work on crafting interview questions that make them think outside the box. One that I found a guy on LinkedIn, I can't remember his name, wrote this great article about how interviews are bogus and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I give him credit in my program. I just can't remember his name right now. But he asked a question. It's very interesting. He says, have a brick, keep a brick with you. And he's like, hand the person the brick and say, take the next 5 minutes and tell me everything that you can do with that brick. And what it does is it gets the person kind of brainstorming and getting creative. It shows their creative side. It shows their innovation. They can think on their feet, so like I could throw this brick through a window. I could use this brick to set on top of my desk and hold papers from blowing away. I could use this brick to be the beginnings of building a beautiful home. So they just kind of get into this flow. And that's just one example of a question that really gets them, thinking outside the box. And if you can develop questions that, make them think about their personality in a way that's different from the question, describe yourself to me, in 5 years. What do you look like in 5 years? Well, why not ask them, if your friends were to say you were an animal, what animal would that be and why? You're like, what? I'm an animal? And the question, the majority of the answers you're going to get are going to be like, I'd be a lion because I'm the king of the jungle, and I just, Yeah.
Another question we threw out. I remember us doing this. A partner did this, and I thought it was cool. She said, if you're on a football team, offense, what position do you visualize yourself in? And that kind of tells you how they're thinking, whether it's quarterback role, receiver, blocker. It gives you some insight of how they're thinking, what direction.
Absolutely. So questions like that, like you just said, are kind of out of the blue to somebody coming into an interview, and it really does help you see their real character and their real personality. So basically, you take all of the three steps, you build them into your marketing. You understand how much you're going to pay a trainer, so you know you're going to be profitable no matter what, right? But and you go through the interview, and you finally get to the end of the interview, and you're like, man, this person, I like this person. They fit the mold. They resonate with the culture. Don't hire them yet. Okay. Big mistake is hiring on the spot, right?
Okay.
There's still a step that you have to take in order to make sure that the person is the right fit, and so that you can at least guarantee that there's going to be some retention on the back end with this employee. And that is communicating expectations. This is key. You have to go ahead and spend some time right at the end of the interview and tell the person, okay, this is what you can expect from us, right? I'm going to support you. I'm going to provide you with these tools. You're going to be able to get continuing education, whatever the things are that you're going to provide, right? We're going to do all the marketing and sales. You're just going to train the clients. You won't have to do any of that stuff. You can just focus on the fitness, focus on the nutrition, and focus on coaching. Okay, we're going to provide you the clients. They're going to be the business's clients, and you're going to train them for us.
Right.
And then you have to go, this is what we expect from you. Okay, duties, responsibilities, how to act, standards of service, like philosophies that we want you to embrace, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what the job pays initially.
Right.
Boom. Now you get to all that. Now the next step is you've communicated the expectations, but expectations don't mean anything until they're agreed upon. So you have to say, based on what you've heard, do you still want to continue with this process of becoming a trainer here at XYZ Fitness? If they say yes, then you're good to go. Because now they know all of the components that are going to go into this. They understand what they're going to get paid. There's no well, I should be paid this. No, they know the pay structure. They know where they're going to start. They know how to move up. They got all of the information they need, and they are making the decision to say, yes, I want to continue the process and come on board here. So now they have agreed to the expectation, right? And there's no back end man, I thought you said we were going to be 40 hours a week and $30 an hour right out of the gate. It don't work like that in this world, right? And so that comes down to have basically what I just explained there, and communicating expectations and allowing them to say yes. Is you're allowing boundaries to be set, right? Everybody knows what's inbounds and everybody knows what's out of bounds. Okay. They are fully owning that they want the job and that they want to get paid what you're going to pay them, and they want the opportunity to advance and show you that they're a good employee. And you are saying, this is what I expect. This is the way it's going to be. These are my standards. You know where I stand. You know what our culture is. And now everybody knows everything, and it's out in the open, and now you can move forward. So that right there is the key to getting the right fit. Keeping them obviously is a function of more of the how do you train and onboard them, the management processes that go into making sure you're helping them grow, and then the leading components of just ongoing development and continuing to help them as a person, right, as a leader, and how you do that. Those are all other components that I go into in my Fitness Freedom Factor Academy. So that's how you get the right fit, Jerry. And I hope that what I shared was valuable to your listeners and viewers, and hopefully they can take some of the information and run with it and start building their teams and building their businesses up.
I absolutely enjoyed it, and I think they would definitely get some value out of this. It's not talked about in the industry that much, so yeah, most definitely, you guys. If you want to reach out to Clint, just feel free to reach out to him. Either message him or comment, say, "Hey, I want to learn more." He'll get back with you.
Absolutely, and I actually put together a cheat sheet that break down all of these steps that I talked about today and more. If you want to download it, it's absolutely free. Fitnessfreedomfactor.com/cheat cheat-sheet. Real
Cheat-sheet.
simple.
Now I was just thinking you could probably develop this program as a dating app too. You know,
Seriously. Yeah.
have this funnel that they come through and they got to do this. I love it. I love it, dude. Yeah, I thank you so very much. I do want to talk. Don't jump off. I want to talk to you in a few minutes. My brain's spinning. But yeah, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, please feel free to reach out to Clint. This is golden stuff. That retention starts with your employees. Starts with you, but it also starts with your employees, and then growing your employees. I love that you mentioned that. It's always growing your employees. A lot of owners in the industry are afraid to do that because they're like, if I grow them, they're going to steal my clients. Well, that's not true. And if you don't grow them, you're only hurting your business and hurting yourself because you can't leverage them to help you build your business. And one of my slides in my retention page is, you don't build a business, you build people, and they build a business for you.
Amen.
And if you can wrap your brain around that, then you will be able to not only prosper in the business you have now, but maybe go to second, third, fourth, fifth location. This is coming from I've owned over 30 different businesses in the last 16 years. And, I unfortunately didn't do a lot of what he's saying, which hurt, because there's a lot of times I just cycled through employees. I probably would have had as much hair as he had if I'd have done this process, and I wouldn't have stressed out so much, but I lost it in that process. So don't lose your hair, guys. Don't do this. So make sure you go at it the right way. And I actually started catching on to that in the last, 5 years in my business, and really started doing some deeper interview questions and finding those right people. But for many years, I was like you. I just didn't do it right, and you learn by your mistakes. So again, guys, thank you, everybody. Thanks for being part of the group, the Fitness Retention Corner group, and we will see you soon. God bless, and have a great day.